Welcome to a teaser episode of the Circle Up podcast. This season is not about me. We are featuring men who have made a difference, who are the well diggers, so to speak, for the Circle Up community. So thank you, Johnny Loh, and thank you, Yosi Shnet, for an inspiring conversation about finding your life purpose. And I think there's a broader theme here around intergenerational mentorship. Men that have seen some shit, dug themselves into deep holes in their lives, and then got themselves out of it, sharing with men like me and men like Johnny who are on the path of finding out who we want to be as men, what our purposes are, and then being able to live into the men we've always wanted to be. So both of you, thank you for doing this. And for the listeners, I hope you enjoy this teaser and you download the full episode 52 of the Circle Up podcast, Designing the Life of Your Dreams, featuring Johnny Loh and Yosi Shnet.
The thing that I brought to my team on that night was I'm feeling unmotivated. I'm living the life that I thought I wanted, doing video production full time, coming from an engineering background and from an Asian family. Going into video production is kind of jarring for my parents. They're like, you left a great paying job or career, you're doing video. And so I'm like, okay, but at least I'm happy making no money. But 5 years in making no money, it started to dawn on me like, hey, I'm not happy. I'm unmotivated. I don't want to wake up in the morning. And I brought this to my team. I remember it because it was huge for me. But
I may have been standing to the right of you and ripping out at you at some point, most likely.
That's why I love Yosi, because sometimes he's just ruthless. We call it ruthless compassion. So he and the rest of the team dug into me. And at the end of that conversation, Yosi volunteered and said, let's get on a call and I'm gonna inspect you or help you discover your life purpose. And so we had the call later in the week, and on the call he said, I'm not getting off this call with you until you write down your life purpose. Something to that extent. And I can't remember how long it was, maybe an hour and a half, 2 hour call. And Yosi really challenged me. I had never written down my life purpose in any form. I just had it in my mind. Oh, I want to inspire people. But what I ended up writing down, if I can find it really quick, was along the lines of, I want to travel the world through my passion of video production and create inspirational video content that inspires other people to live to their higher purpose. And he's like, okay, now that you've written down this purpose, what actions or steps or plan can you implement in your life to get there faster? And 2015, I committed that in 6 months, I'm going to make a ridiculous amount of money and then fly to Thailand in February of 2016. And so I only made a third of the amount of money I wanted to. I still ended up going to Thailand because I booked the ticket 6 months in advance. And that's what changed my life, because I was like, nope, I want to live abroad. I want to travel. It opened my eyes to that. I don't have to live in Toronto to live the life I want. And it kind of was being open-minded to possibility, that things can fail, things can go wrong, and you can still find opportunities in failure if you're willing to get uncomfortable. That was a very long story of saying that my conversation with Yosi ended up leading me down a path that I never knew would end up taking me. Does any of that ring a bell, Yosi?
Yes, 100%.
If you can remember that conversation, what was it like for you to be on the phone with this really young, naive dude that had no motivation or purpose in life? What was that conversation like for you?
The common associated feeling that I had in all the calls is that I really, really, really want to get through to them. And I do remember being extremely impressed when you came back with your a few months down the road. You came back with your sales and those ring ideas. I'm like, what is he doing? Wait a second, but it's working. that I remember in my head very well.
So on this conversation about purpose, and how even writing it down from you was something so foreign, and knowing that I could aim for it, fail, but still pick up the pieces of what I'd learned and continue on. And that purpose has gone through some iterations, but it's mostly stayed the same. Traveling, pursuing video as a passion, and using that as a medium to inspire other people. That's the core of my purpose, my life purpose. But I would love to hear what your purpose is and why, you were able to have that conversation with me because I'm sure you have one for yourself, and you've also experienced failure. And despite those failures, you still picked yourself up and continued on. So one, I'd be curious to know what your purpose is and how it's kept you aligned and driven despite, things that have happened to you.
It changes and it morphs. There is a bottom line purpose of making a difference for people. That's a common denominator in most of the things that I do. And I've never, a lot of times people ask me, why don't you do that and actually charge? And I've never seen that as a right thing to charge for, because I see that it's pretty much a right for everyone to have that, to have the ability to do something with themselves and for themselves, should they choose to. So I'd always given my all, and all the time that I had and didn't have, even when I was working 15, 16-hour days, at the end of the day, if there was somebody who needed to talk about something, our conversation could have also been scheduled after a 15, 16-hour day. And I was always there for that, and I always will be, whether I know the person or not. I always had smaller purposes to make enough money so I can escape Canada, to really provide everything that I can for my family. But I realized that my perspectives about those purposes are changing throughout life, just as I'm maturing myself, and all of a sudden I'm living in a place where we just don't give as many fucks here. We're already in paradise, So somebody, like, be it they're expats or be it they're locals, they don't have the same relationship with commitment and integrity as I once did in my past. And again, I'm finding myself adapting to that, because I'm sitting with somebody at the beach and he says that he wants something, then I'm starting to get into all the terminology of like, okay, but you got to go get it and you got to go do it. And you got to, like, wait, like, there's a sailboat in front of us, and there's like people playing around on the beach around. Like, what am I talking about? Just chill. So my purposes are getting redefined, and